Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. Character list: Viola, a young woman who is shipwrecked, having lost her twin brother Sebastian, and lands in Illyria quite by accident. She resolves to make the best of her situation, and be taken into Orsino's service, as a young eunuch named Cesario. Viola is quickly taken into Orsino's confidence, and he tells her all the secrets of his heart. She is entrusted with wooing Olivia, though Olivia herself falls for Viola as Cesario. Viola herself is in love with Orsino, though she cannot admit this. She does succeed in gaining Orsino's affections, however, and gets him to be a more honest, less self-centered person. A sea captain, he rescues Viola from drowning, and helps her transform herself into Cesario and become Orsino's page. Later, he has supposedly had some issues with Malvolio somehow, and must be found so that Viola may reclaim her female clothes and possessions. Sebastian, Viola's non-identical twin brother, who nevertheless bears a great resemblance to her. Viola tries to imitate her brother in her disguise as Cesario, as the two are mistaken for each other in many scenes. Sebastian himself is saved by Antonio, and the two become fast friends. Quite by accident, Sebastian comes across Olivia, and is taken for Cesario. She proposes, and they are quickly married, despite Sebastian not knowing who she is. Antonio, another sea captain, he saves Sebastian's life, and appears to be benevolent in his intentions toward Sebastian. However, he has a questionable past, and was involved in some doings at sea that mean he is wanted by Orsino. He stops a duel between Viola and Sir Andrew, mistaking Viola for her brother Sebastian. His relationship with Sebastian has argued to be a little more than friendly, though this can certainly be disputed. Olivia, a noble woman, Countess of Illyria. She lost her father, then her brother right before the beginning of the play. She resolves to be in mourning for her brother for 7 years, thus thwarting Orsino's attempts to woo her. She becomes enamored of Viola, who acts as a messenger for Orsino, and though Olivia tries her best to win Viola, Viola does her best to let her down easily, because Viola is not a boy like she pretends to be. Olivia rushes off and marries Sebastian, thinking that he is Viola as Cesario, but everything works out in the end. Maria, Olivia's gentlewoman maid, a witty, wily woman who has some affection for Sir Toby. It is she who resolves to get revenge on Malvolio. After he embarrasses the party, she claims to have handwriting like Olivia's, and will use that gift to trick Malvolio. She is actually a good-natured woman, though she loves a good joke, and holds her own with the boys Sir Toby, Sir Andrew, and Fest. Sir Toby, surname Belch, not very complimentary but sadly accurate. He is Olivia's ill-behaved uncle, and spends most of his time drinking, fooling, and carousing with Sir Andrew. He takes part in the pranks against Malvolio, and arranges the duel between Sir Andrew and Viola as well. He is hot-tempered, and usually unruly, but not a bad fellow either. Sir Andrew, surname Ague-Cheek, also not complimentary, but correctly describing his thin, pale face. He is a complete, very dense fool, who can't help but misconstrue every word his friend Sir Toby says. He hopes to win Olivia's affection, though they have few interactions in the play. Jealous of the attention that Olivia pays to Cesario, he challenges the young man to a duel, that is never quite completed. Malvolio, Olivia's steward, a man who is supposedly good at his job, but is stern and hates merrymaking. He rebukes Sir Toby and company very harshly, for which they resolve to get revenge. They play on his vanity and his pride by convincing him that Olivia loves him, and getting him to act foolish in front of her. He is finally locked up in a dark place, and tormented by Fest. In the last act, he comes forward and tells of his ordeal, and swears revenge on everyone involved, having not learned any lessons. Fabian, a member of Olivia's household with responsibilities that are never explained. He is a sort of mid-play replacement for Fest, taking part in the plots against Malvolio with Sir Toby and Sir Andrew. He doesn't seem to have much of a personality, but is included in the play for the purpose of exposition, and he is also good at stating the obvious for the audience. Fest, a jester and musician who lends his services to Olivia, and to Orsino as well. Fest is quick-witted and quite skilled at wordplay, but he is also somewhat cruel, as seen in his behavior toward Malvolio. Fest may act the part of the fool, but in fact he is very wise and perceptive about people's natures. He knows the perfect song for any occasion, but resents when his services are taken for granted. A priest marries Sebastian and Olivia, and later testifies about this union to Orsino and others. Orsino, Duke or Count of Illyria, though his title in the play is disputed, Orsino is the ruler of Illyria, with some naval experience behind him. He is lovesick for the lady Olivia, who will not return his affections. Viola is taken into his service, as the boy Cesario, and is quickly taken into his confidence and tries to woo Olivia for him. However, Orsino's affections shift by the end of the play. He drops his self-indulgent behavior, and develops affection for Viola. Curio, Valentine, two of Orsino's attendants. Valentine is sent to try and woo Olivia, though he is not quite as successful at gaining entrance to Olivia's house as Cesario is. Curio accompanies Orsino on his visit to Olivia's in the last act, though he says nothing. Their basic purpose is to wait on Orsino as best they can, but they are not as close to him or as important in the action as Viola is. First officer, second officer, these two recognize Antonio as having committed crimes against Orsino, and arrest him. In the last act, they hold Antonio, as they remind Orsino of the crime that Antonio had committed. Summary: in the kingdom of Illyria, a nobleman named Orsino lies around listening to music, pining away for the love of Lady Olivia. He cannot have her because she is in mourning for her dead brother and refuses to entertain any proposals of marriage. Meanwhile, off the coast, a storm has caused a terrible shipwreck. A young, aristocratic-born woman named Viola is swept onto the Illyrian shore. Finding herself alone in a strange land, she assumes that her twin brother, Sebastian, has been drowned in the wreck, and tries to figure out what sort of work she can do. A friendly sea captain tells her about Orsino's courtship of Olivia, and Viola says that she wishes she could go to work in Olivia's home. But since Lady Olivia refuses to talk with any strangers, Viola decides that she cannot look for work with her. Instead, she decides to disguise herself as a man, taking on the name of Cesario, and goes to work in the household of Duke Orsino. Viola, disguised as Cesario, quickly becomes a favorite of Orsino, who makes Cesario his page. Viola finds herself falling in love with Orsino, a difficult love to pursue, as Orsino believes her to be a man. But when Orsino sends Cesario to deliver Orsino's love messages to the disdainful Olivia, Olivia herself falls for the beautiful young Cesario, believing her to be a man. The love triangle is complete. Viola loves Orsino, Orsino loves Olivia, and Olivia loves Cesario, and everyone is miserable. Meanwhile, we meet the other members of Olivia's household, her rowdy drunkard of an uncle, Sir Toby, his foolish friend, Sir Andrew Ague-Cheek, who is trying in his hopeless way to court Olivia, Olivia's witty and pretty waiting gentlewoman, Maria, Fest, the clever clown of the house, and Malvolio, the dour, prudish steward of Olivia's household. When Sir Toby and the others take offence at Malvolio's constant efforts to spoil their fun, Maria engineers a practical joke to make Malvolio think that Olivia is in love with him. She forges a letter, supposedly from Olivia, addressed to her beloved, whose name is signified by the letters MOAI, telling him that if he wants to earn her favor, he should dress in yellow stockings and crossed garters, act haughtily, smile constantly, and refuse to explain himself to anyone. Malvolio finds the letter, assumes that it is addressed to him, and, filled with dreams of marrying Olivia and becoming noble himself, happily follows its commands. He behaves so strangely that Olivia comes to think that he is mad. Meanwhile, Sebastian, who is still alive after all but believes his sister Viola to be dead, arrives in Illyria along with his friend and protector, Antonio. Antonio has cared for Sebastian since the shipwreck and is passionately, and perhaps sexually, attached to the young man so much so that he follows him to Orsino's domain, in spite of the fact that he and Orsino are old enemies. Sir Andrew, observing Olivia's attraction to Cesario, still Viola in disguise, challenges Cesario to a duel. Sir Toby, who sees the prospective duel as entertaining fun, eggs Sir Andrew on. However, when Sebastian, who looks just like the disguised Viola, appears on the scene, Sir Andrew and Sir Toby end up coming to blows with Sebastian, thinking that he is Cesario. Olivia enters amid the confusion. Encountering Sebastian and thinking that he is Cesario, she asks him to marry her. He is baffled, since he has never seen her before. He sees, however, that she is wealthy and beautiful, and he is therefore more than willing to go along with her. Meanwhile, Antonio has been arrested by Orsino's officers and now begs Cesario for help, mistaking him for Sebastian. Viola denies knowing Antonio, and Antonio is dragged off, crying out that Sebastian has betrayed him. Suddenly, Viola has newfound hope that her brother may be alive. Malvolio's supposed madness has allowed the gleeful Maria, Toby, and the rest to lock Malvolio into a small, dark room for his treatment, and they torment him at will. Fest dresses up as Sir Topus, a priest, and pretends to examine Malvolio, declaring him definitely insane in spite of his protests. However, Sir Toby begins to think better of the joke, and they allow Malvolio to send a letter to Olivia, in which he asks to be released. Eventually, Viola, still disguised as Cesario, and Orsino make their way to Olivia's house, where Olivia welcomes Cesario as her new husband, thinking him to be Sebastian, whom she has just married. Orsino is furious, but then Sebastian himself appears on the scene, and all is revealed. The siblings are joyfully reunited, and Orsino realizes that he loves Viola, now that he knows she is a woman, and asks her to marry him. We discover that Sir Toby and Maria have also been married privately. Finally, someone remembers Malvolio and lets him out of the dark room. The trick is revealed in full, and the embittered Malvolio storms off, leaving the happy couples to their celebration.